Good evening. It's SharRon Jamison from the Jamison Group, and I hope that you would join me this evening. For some of you who don't know, I am the CEO of the Jamison Group. I'm also an author, a business owner, also a manager in a corporation, and I'm also a life coach. Hey, Paulette and Katie Ann. And I wanted to just stop in because I have received some great questions from the Facebook Live I did a couple of days ago about knowing when to move in your life. Hey there, Katie Ann, when to move and how do you know when to move and to make changes in your life? And so I received a couple of questions about how do we know, how do we discern if something. Okay, I'm not really sure what happened. My internet came up. I'm in a hotel room in North Carolina. So how do we determine if something is a vision? I want to say it's hard to determine if something is a vision because I believe that all visions are spiritual, come from God, are the source. But because we are so unique, how we will understand and how will receive visions will be different. I think some of us will be able to sense visions and see visions in our dreams. Some of us will be able to hear visions, hear whispers, and some of us will be able to touch visions and to taste visions. All of us will receive visions differently based on who we are, based on how we are uniquely wired. Thanks, Katie Ann, for sharing. So I think it's hard to determine, do visions come one way? I think God and God's amazingness, I know that's not a word, designed us all differently. So how I will receive a vision will be different than how you will receive a vision because we will receive a vision based on how we are uniquely wired. And all of us are wired differently. So, hey, Karen. So we will all receive visions differently. So that's the first thing. But I want to lift up 6 things for us to consider about visions because I think just the questions that I'm receiving about what is a vision, how to determine a vision, I thought I would just take 15 minutes and talk about how do we know visions and what can we expect from visions. One, remember, we all are going to receive visions differently, but a vision is a message. It can be a dream. It can be a sign. It can be a symptom. It can be a clue, something that gets our attention to know that we should do something, be something, be something. So it is a vision. It's a message from God to do something, and we will all receive visions differently. Second thing I want to say is that when we have visions, even though God speaks to our heart, we still have to use our mind because our mind is our database where our insight and our wisdom and our information lies. But not only that is that we have to guard our mind because in our mind, that's what is initially attacked by doubt, by fear, by feelings of inadequacy, by feelings of insufficiency and insecurity. So we always have to protect our mind because we know that our mind is a database of the ideas and a database of creativity, but we also got to be clear that our mind will be the first thing that will be attacked because if we can be filled with doubt, we can minimize our effectiveness doing what we have been ordained to do. Second thing, we have to watch our mind because our mind symbolizes leadership. It's the head. And when we have a vision, the quickest way to stop a vision in its tracks is to confuse the head or confuse the leadership. So we have to always remember it's important to protect our mind because that's where our ideas and insights happen, but also that mind really symbolizes the leadership. And if we have a vision, it is our job to protect it, to nurture it, and let it incubate before we deliver it to the world. So that's the second thing. Message, mind. The third thing is money. I believe that when we have a vision, when we receive a vision, that where God gives vision, God will always give provision. And so I think we can be really concerned about the money because visions are all about faith walks. Like I mentioned on a couple of days ago, sometimes we get to see the whole gamut, but sometimes we only get a glimpse. But even if we see the gamut or a glimpse, we still have to go and trust that the money is going to arrive. Now, we also have to broaden our perspective of money, because currency comes in a lot of different ways. Sometimes it's dollars and cents. Thanks for sharing, John. But money also comes in not only cash, but connections. Money is not only numbers, but it's networks. So we have to make sure that we are aware that when we get a vision, we will need money, but the money might not be dollars and cents. It might be connections, networks, relationships. So we have to broaden our understanding of what money is, so that we know that God will provide resources in a variety of ways. So that's message, that's mind, that's money. The third thing is a method. Many times when we get visions, how we will implement and execute is really based on our talents or how we are guided. I believe that God always orders our steps. We know that. But it's us that determines our stride. God orders the steps. We determine our stride. And our stride will be determined based on our ability to hear God and ability to walk in faith. So how does the method for a vision, there might be a lot of different ways. I think we have to allow ourselves to try things, and maybe we will fail, but we got to be careful that we don't look at failure as a funeral, but as failure as facts. Failure is not death, it's just data. And so we have to make sure we understand that sometimes we're going to fail our way into success, because the success, that the information that we get from failure gives us insight. So that's money method. This fifth thing we have to talk about is members. When we have a vision, it's always so important to remember that when we get big visions, we cannot do big visions by ourselves. And so oftentimes God will give us a vision, and that God will send us members, our people, to help us execute and facilitate the vision, because we can never do everything we need to do by our own two hands. And if it's really a big vision, we will get support, because for every, like I said before, for every need, God will send you a name. And for every gap in your life and every gap in your vision, God will send you a group. So we have to understand, when we get a vision, if it's a vision, that means that it's to be used to support people, to serve people. And we can only do so much with our two hands. So God will always send people to us to help facilitate and execute and to equip us and to structure and shape and systematize and operationalize the vision. So I just wanted to let you know that. So expect members. You need people. You can't do visions by yourself, because our visions always include more than yourself. The fifth thing I want you to think about with visions is that be careful that some people will wear a mask. Everybody who's sent to you or by you is not sent there to help you. I believe that God sends divine people to you based on divine assignments, but some people are demonic assassins. We have to make sure that we are able to discern if a person is sent to us to help us on divine assignment, or if a person is a demonic assassin. Now, we got to really always be clear that when we start having big impact, when we start having tremendous movement, always know that if we are starting to upset the apple cart, when we gain more influence and impact, there will always be people trying to affect our influence. And the fastest way to nullify or negate our influence is by ruining our reputations. And so we always have to remember that the bigger we come, always know that people are going to come at us. You always heard it before, a new level, a new devil. That's why it's so important not to pray that God elevates you or takes you higher if you are afraid of heights, because the heights that you will deal with will be meaner and more deceitful haters, dream slayers, naysayers. But again, if you want God to take you higher, you can't be afraid of heights, and know that people are going to come from you in different ways. So it's really important to know that some people are sent to you by divine assignment. Some people are demonic assassins, and we got to make sure that we protect our character, because people will assassinate our character, especially people who are jealous or don't want us to do what we have been called to do, because the biggest way to stop our impact is to minimize our influence, and people do that by ruining our reputation. Hey, Nyla. And the last thing I want to talk about is that our vision is to serve the masses. Our vision is to support people and to serve people and sustain people, is to really be of service, not only to our good, to the common good. And really, our visions are not about our self-aggrandizement. Our visions are about how can we motivate and inspire? How can we equip? How can we exhort and admonish? How can we provoke people to do things differently, to be bigger, better, and bolder? How can we operationalize so that our words can not only live now, but to live in the future, so we can liberate people in their mind, bodies, and spirit? Because when we liberate people, we release people to be all that God has created them to be. And so we all need to be more liberated. And liberation is a process, is incremental, is never instantaneous. So I want, there are a couple other things I want to talk about, but I'll just leave it here. So please remember, hey, Davis, remember that, again, our visions, our messages that we receive from, I believe, God, we will all hear and receive visions differently based on our unique wiring. Some of us will sense it, some of us will see it, some of us will hear it, some of us will touch it, some of us will taste it. God will work through us based on how we are uniquely designed. So that's the message. Remember that you have to watch your mind. Your mind is your database of ideas and insight. Hey, Lisa, but your mind is always the place that's always attacked by fear, doubt, insecurity, and inadequacy. Always remember that we have to guard our mind, because our mind symbolizes leadership. And many times our visions get derailed because of us not really exercising good leadership. And the way that we exercise good leadership is to have dominion over our thoughts. Remember, money comes in a lot of different ways. Money is not only dollars and cents. Money is not only cash, it's connections. Money is not only numbers, it's networks. And so we have to broaden our perspective about how we understand money when we have a vision. Hey, Avis, always remember that there are going to be very different methods for us to execute, and to know that our methods are unique based on our gifting and our talents and our skills. But also remember that God orders your steps, but you determine your own stride. And so your speed will be based on your abilities, and also your abilities to recruit people into your vision. Again, 7 is members. Remember, your visions will always include more than you. It's not only about your self-aggrandizement. It's about how can you serve the common good and the collective good. Remember that some people will wear masks, that even though people are by you, doesn't mean that they're on your side. And just because they're close to you does not mean that they're on your team. So, and just because somebody is skin with you or kin with you does not mean that they're on one accord. So again, we have to remember, as we have greater impact, the best way to nullify our impact is to corrupt our influence. And so people will, of course, go after your reputation. And then again, our visions are to serve the masses. So I hope that helps. Thanks so much for your questions. Continue to ask me questions. I will do my best to address them in some type of succinct way. There are more to it about visions, but what I will do is leave it with those 7 points. And if you're interested in us continuing to have these conversations, please sign up for the Soar in the Summer program. We can definitely continue to not only talk about these issues, but wrestle with some of these concepts about when do we know that it's time for us to move in our lives and to take new risk, to take new opportunities, to heed visions, and how do we know when we are equipped to do more, to be more, to say more. So I hope that helps. Please sign up for Soar in the Summer program. I want to invite all of you to become a part of the Dare to Soar Higher group, and where we will be having questions and conversations like this. And I will also put more information in the Dare to Soar Higher group about how to discern and how to decide and how to be crystal clear about a vision, and how do you know it's a vision, and how do you are able to crystallize and identify and clarify what you should be doing on your divine assignment. So I hope that's helpful. Thanks so much for stopping by, Nyla, Davis, Lisa, Avis, John. I really appreciate it. And let's dare to soar higher together. Blessings to you always. Have a good evening.